Hi, my name is Blakeman, and I want to tell you a vacuum and sewing machine story. I got started in the vacuum and sewing machine business back when I was in college, in my early 20s. I needed a job, and I had a friend that was working in the vacuum and sewing machine store that offered me a job, and I ended up taking it about a week later because my current job in sales ended. So it's kind of an interesting story, and the reason I'm telling you this story is so you understand why you're on this page or why you came here. And you definitely came here for a reason, and I'm going to get to that. So basically what happened is I started learning vacuums and sewing machines over a 5.5 year period of time, working in a small shop with a boss that had been in the industry for over 30 years. He had actually come from the original Singer company. He was an original Singer sewing machine service technician and salesperson, and then became a Pfaff sewing machine dealer, which was a German sewing machine company, and he had been a Pfaff sewing machine dealer for over 25 years. I learned a lot from him, and he knew a lot about the business, and it was a great opportunity to learn a niche trade while I was going to school studying business at Colorado State University. But there were always problems in his store. There were always problems that I was encountering when I would come into work with customers, with the processes, how we were moving customer repairs around the shop because we were repairing sewing machines and vacuums, how we handled customers when they came in to buy things, when we ordered stuff, when we'd go ahead and order things from vendors. It was not very organized, and so there were problems. We had angry customers. There was confusion about what was going on, and there was always something going on in the service department that we were trying to figure out or find out about. There were promises that customers had made that they said they didn't make, or promises that we had made that they said we didn't make, or they were saying that we had made promises we hadn't made, and there were no records to keep track of these things with our sales, with our service. It was really difficult. As I attended college, the business school at Colorado State University, I started learning about marketing and really took a really deep interest in it and started applying what I was learning to the store I was working in, and quickly found out that running sales seminars and marketing to customers using email and flyers was working really well, and we more than doubled the business in the store. My commissions exploded. The traffic in the store started going up, and we got really busy. This was about 2 or 3 years into working at this store, and what I found out that was through growing the traffic, growing the number of customers in the store, and growing the sales, it was really exciting, but it was also very difficult to keep up with the volume as we tried to hire people to help out, and they didn't know what to do. They hadn't been in the store as long as me and the other guy I worked with, or my boss and his wife. They just were thrown into the fire basically, and they would quit, or they would they would just not come to work anymore, and it was just this problem. So we grew sales, we were growing business, but we couldn't grow anymore because we couldn't hire people, or we couldn't keep people long enough to keep growing. So after that period of growth, for about 2.5 years, I started making a list while I was working in that store of everything I wanted to change, every problem I would see, everything I saw that was creating angry customers, or anything I saw that was making my job hard. I started making a list, and I made a big list of a lot of different things. And then what I did is I went out and I started my own shop. I went and started my own business after I graduated college. I actually wrote a business plan beforehand, really planned it out, and then went and executed and opened a store. And so again, I grew my business through sales and marketing. And what I found was that I couldn't hire people and get them up to speed fast enough. It was really difficult to continue to grow my own business, even though I was growing sales and I was growing my number of customers. It was really difficult. Now I was facing this problem as a business owner, and it became a much different scenario for me. As I tried to hire people to keep up with the growth, and I tried to create documents and processes from the list that I had created from working in the store of the things that I didn't want to do. I want to have happy customers, want to make things work. I found that it was just really hard. I couldn't hire people and grow as I was keeping up, and the money was coming in and the growth was happening, but I just couldn't keep people long enough. And as I was hiring people, if they did stay, they're making customers angry. Even if I knew what I was doing, I could make customers really happy. If I wasn't around, those employees would make the customers unhappy. I started to feel the pain of the lost money, the lost sales. The people I was hiring, I could just see it happen. I could see the sales floating away as they handle customers the wrong way, and I was too busy to help them. I could hear them tell me the stories of how they lost a sale and they didn't think it was their fault, or on and on. And to an extent, it was not their fault. They didn't know what to do, and I was so frustrated just trying to grow everything and seeing this happen. So I started trying to train my employees, and I would work with them, I'd sit with them, and I'd tell them how to do things the right way. And they would learn, and it would get better, and it would start to work. And then something would happen, and they would leave the company because they found another job in a different industry, or their family member got sick, or they just moved away for some other reason. Just life would happen. And some of those employees stayed around that I worked really hard with and trained, but I've spent hours and hours, days and days training people and working with them very closely, only to lose them a short time later, losing all of that time. And it was so expensive for me to do that. And it was a hard lesson to learn about my time. I felt sad that I couldn't keep up with the workload. I was working 100 hours a week. I was anxious all the time that my employees were going to mess things up, even if I created a lot of successful sales, and a lot of successful activity. I felt like I wasn't really that great amongst my peers, the other retailers in the sewing machine and vacuum cleaner industry. I just felt less than, and there's always this anxiety if I wasn't in the store that something was going to go wrong constantly. It wasn't a good feeling. I tried to look to the sewing machine and vacuum cleaner vendors for training resources. And what I found was that some of them had some training resources that my employees could use, but they were very limited. And they only talked about their product. They didn't talk about the customers. They didn't talk about what happens in the store, how to deal with other types of machines that we deal with all the time. Even in the store where I had stores where I only sold one brand of sewing machine or vacuum, I still had customers bringing in other types that my employees had to deal with. And so there was this problem. I couldn't find good training resources. The vendors didn't have good enough training resources. And then I started looking for professional retail training resources and sales training resources. And they were out there. I found professional retail sales training, professional retail operations systems. And I spent tens of thousands of dollars over the 6-year period I had my business. And I spent more money than my college education on these systems and programs, trying to implement them and bring them into my business. And at the end of the day, it didn't translate enough to my industry, to sewing machines and vacuums, to our industry, to what we do, because it's so specific and it doesn't apply across the board. There were good things in those trainings, don't get me wrong, but for the money I was spending on them, it was not worth it, and I couldn't keep them for the long term. It just didn't make sense, and it was hard to get my employees to engage in those trainings, because at the end of the day, some of the stuff that they were learning wasn't actually translating what was happening in the store. It wasn't specific enough. I needed something better. I got to the point with my business where I had operations in Wyoming, I had operations in Colorado, across the Rocky Mountains, and I'd sold a lot of machines. I was taking care of thousands of customers. I was working all the time, the feelings of anxiety and overwhelm, all that stuff happening. I was reaching for different resources, getting stressed, trying to change and adjust and hire people and train them and work really hard. And it was really hard to make progress, and I had to do something. And so I had to build my own retail system for my business. I went ahead and took everything I had learned from my old job, the list of everything I had meticulously kept for 2.5 years, the feedback that I'd gotten from my customers through running email marketing surveys, listening to them, writing down notes every time they would tell me something that made them upset or dissatisfied, the feedback from my employees and the problems that they were encountering, or the confusion that they would have to things that I thought were basic. I took all of that information from the vendor trainings where the vendors were doing trainings, and from the professional trainings, from the sales and retail trainings that I spent thousands, tens of thousands of dollars on, and I began to build my own program. With time and money invested, I began recording video, making tests, aggregating things together. And I started using them right away and training my employees and changing them and tweaking those trainings and the coaching and making it better and writing instructions and building manuals. After all of the hard work, I finally put the finishing touches on my training. It was for my managers who trained the staff, for the staff that was coming on board so that they could learn industry-specific information, and also the retail environment of sewing machines and vacuum cleaners and how to be successful so they could be happy, I could keep them, they would produce profitable sales, selling merchandise at profitable prices, and making happy customers that came back and even sent their friends and family in. Along with the systems, the forms, the templates, the agendas, all of the things needed to make sure the store was running while I wasn't there. The training and the systems went hand in hand. My standard processes gave employees clarity. The training, the forms to follow to go along with it, all of it made things more consistent. The customers were happier and they liked our consistent delivery on what we said we would do, and the documentation that pointed back to what the expectations were when they came to our store. They were a lot happier. With the training in place, my employees knew what to do next and knew how to do it. They were consistent and knowledgeable. The training forms, the coaching forms, the process documents, the sign-off sheets, all of it in the system that I created made it possible to see if the employees were doing a good job or a bad job, where I could reward them, where I could coach them and make them better, or where maybe they just needed to go down the road, or maybe where they needed a promotion and more training. It was a great place to be. Being that my training was sewing machine and vacuum cleaner specific, I could hire good quality people and screen them using the human resources screening process I developed in that manual, my human resources manual, which is in the training, to hire good quality people that were reliable, honest, hardworking, intelligent people that just didn't know about sewing machines and vacuums, and they could go through my training to learn about sewing machines and vacuums and get industry-specific training. That way, I didn't have to rely on bad employees that had industry knowledge. The employees that had the industry knowledge that I had to rely on were dishonest sometimes, bad employees, maybe not that intelligent, they weren't able to really go into other better industries, and so I got saddled sometimes with industry employees that were bad employees. But once I started implementing the training program, I was able to get rid of them and bring in better quality people and make them industry people. When the training was in place, the customers were happy, my employees were happy. Payroll was well spent because I knew it was being used so that operations were in place, sales were happening, we were remarketing to our own customers and promoting to our own customers in the store, and I felt a lot better about the way things were going. Some of my employees stayed with me for years, and we scaled to 4 locations in 2 different states. The employees selling at profitable prices, feeling happy and prepared, I felt much more relaxed and was able to step away from the store at times and not feel the anxiety where it was gone. I felt way more relaxed when I wasn't in the store. Being able to help my employees with real impact and give them the training that they needed to be successful and happy and enjoy their job gave me a real sense of purpose as a business owner. As I started to win awards and we built an award-winning retail business in the sewing machine and vacuum cleaner industry, my peers, my friends that were retailers started reaching out to me for advice. The industry trade magazine asked me to write articles. I got to speak on panels and give advice to other retailers. It was an amazing feeling and I felt elevated. Now I was a professional amongst my peers. I made the decision to go ahead and sell my business, to create a program for retailers just like me to help you and make it affordable so that you can go ahead and hire the people you need and train them so that you can have success as well. As I started helping my friends and sharing my resources with them, I started seeing that they were getting results from some of the things I was sharing with them. And so it really helped me in making my decision to go ahead and sell my 4 stores and move forward with creating these special products just for you. The core ideas in these trainings, processes, systems, forms, documents, they've made me and other retailers just like you millions of dollars, and I love to share them with you. My training program built me an award-winning multi-million-dollar retail business, and I want to share that with you. And there's a lot of content. There's hours of video files, hundreds of documents, and I'm going to share it with you. And not all of it might apply to you because your business might not be like my business. Maybe it'll become like my business and you will need all of it. But if you don't like my training, you can cancel at any time. There's no obligation. There's no contract to sign. I'm simply trying to deliver you the best value to help you and your employees. And you're going to find that this is such a good resource because when you hire somebody new, you're going to be able to bring them into your store. You're going to be able to sit them down. They'll be able to watch detailed, structured training on how to operate in your store. And it's even something that you can review. You'll learn some things from it because it's going to show you how you can systemize your store so you can feel comfortable when you go away from your store. Okay, this is a big deal. And if you don't like it, you can cancel at any time. There's no risk. I'm giving you this at no risk. Okay, so click the sign up link below and I'm going to see you on the other side.